It's the Mike Francesa Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. All right, time for the Subway Series round number 2, and hey, there's going to be a real buzz because every game now is so important for both teams as the Mets try to cling to a wild card spot while the Yankees try to get themselves righted and see if they can win a division, falling off the pace against the struggling Orioles. You know, the Yankees are lucky as they go through these tough times. And they did blow Tampa out twice, but they lost the other 2 games, so nothing impressive there. Baltimore and Boston continue to lose. Otherwise, you know, this division wouldn't look so pretty, or they wouldn't be where they are right now in a very comfortable position. Luckily, the Orioles have struggled right along with the Yankees, and the Red Sox obviously had a tough time courtesy of the Dodgers. So that's helped a little bit. Now, there's a lot of reasons to think the Yankees are going to get retribution here. They haven't forgotten the beating they took at Citi Field, getting lit up for 21 runs, losing that second game the way they did. So, hey, the Mets, they've already split the season series. A win at Yankee Stadium, and the year is theirs as far as the Yankees are concerned. So get 1 out of 2 is all they need. The Yankees obviously want to return the favor to the Mets. They want to try to get righted as far as their overall play goes. And then you have the Severino comments. Now, hey, listen, all Severino said is what everyone else has said 1,000 times. Yankees have 2 hitters. Duh, the Yankees have 2 hitters. We know that. That's been the theme. That's what we've talked about. They will eventually get Stanton back whenever, who knows. But you know how Stanton is with injuries anyway. But, you know, you look at the Yankees and you have 2 guys who are, you know, playing brilliant baseball. Soto's having an MVP year. Judge is having a year that's better than an MVP year. So, I mean, they're both having great seasons. We know that. And you look at the other statistics, and it's scary. I mean, it really is. You have the 2 of them. The next highest on-base percentage is .305. You have the 2 of them, okay? And the next highest batting average is .250. After that, it's .229. You look at just take a number. Slugging, those 2 up in the stratosphere. The next highest slugging percentage is Volpe at .380. They don't have a legitimate guy who's having a decent season. When you look at the depth of the Met lineup and look at the Yankee lineup, the depth of the Met lineup is extraordinary compared to the Yankee lineup. The Mets have guys batting at the bottom who can hit, who are having good years. You know, they got guys right now at the bottom of the lineup who can scare you. The Yankees, once you get through Judge, you take a deep breath. I mean, no offense to Wells, but, you know, how's Wells batting cleanup? All right? And Wells has hit okay lately. But he's batting cleanup. I mean, they don't have anybody other than Stanton to even remotely do the job. And you look at that Met lineup, and the Mets were fortunate to get away with that game yesterday because, you know, whenever you go in that bullpen, you take a very, very deep breath. And they actually needed that Lindor home run for insurance, his second of the game. And still, they had a chance to give it up in the 9th as Diaz got the out, the pop-up with a couple of guys on base. But right now, you have Iglesias down there at the bottom of the lineup, and he's hitting .380. You have McNeil, and you know I talked about McNeil of the Yankees, which I knew wouldn't happen, but he would have been perfect, and you've seen it now. Look what he's done. Last 27 at-bats, McNeil has 3 homers and 9 RBIs. He's a guy who could take off in the second half And everyone says he's happier now. Well, he's happier now because he's hitting, and he's hitting home runs. But he's a dangerous player. Bader's hitting 270 at the bottom of the lineup, and he's been a catalyst for them all season in the 9th spot. So the Yankee lineup is dead wood. The Met lineup is dangerous. But you peer out to that Met bullpen, and you start to shiver. Because they give up runs every single night. They have got to fix that bullpen. They have got to put new arms in that bullpen. If they don't, I don't think they can continue on. And they have some tough sledding to do. The Yankee schedule is going to break very well for them. The Mets schedule is going to break very well against them. It's not pretty for them. So they got some tough trips. They got West Coast trips. They got some stuff to do. They are the equal of a lot of these teams. In the National League, you have 5 teams within one game. There's 5 teams fighting for that wild card that have 48, 48, 49, 50 losses, all right there. And the Mets are right in the middle of that. Now, winning a division for the Yankees would be very important. And when people talk about the trades, hey, the Yanks are looking for a reliever, especially a swing and miss guy late in the game. They don't need a starting pitcher. They really don't, because the odds on them getting somebody who's going to pitch better than what they have is unlikely. All right, you're going to tell me the Tigers are going to part with the guys they have at the top of the rotation? If they do, what are they in baseball for? But they need Stroman to be better at home, where he gives up home run after home run. They need both Cortez and Rodon to be more consistent. Cole's going to be good, and you hope Heal's good. We'll see. Obviously, Heal and Cole are going in these 2 games. Heal has turned it around his last 2 starts. After those 3 brutal starts, he's turned it around his last 2 starts. He's pitched 12 and 2/3 innings. He's given up 2 runs, 9 hits, struck out 16. So he's gotten it back together. This is a good test for him tonight against a lineup that is very dangerous. A lineup that, let's be honest, from top to bottom can take you out of the ballpark. Out of the ballpark. If you have McNeil in the lineup, which you should at Yankee Stadium, if you don't, you're nuts. If you have Vientos in the lineup, they got power up and down the lineup. Up and down the lineup. They can take you out of the ballpark. I mean, just look at it. I mean, it's just top to bottom. There's no one on that team. No one on that team that can't hit a home run. You got Alonso, who's had 19, which is, all right, maybe a little disappointing for him. You got Lindor now, who has 19, who's turning this into a good season after that crazy bad start. You got Nimmo with 16 home runs. You have Vientos with 12 home runs. You got Martinez, Bader, McNeil. They all hit home runs. They have 10. They have 9. They have 8. Okay? Alvarez hits the ball out of the ballpark, especially Yankee Stadium, especially going to right field. They have threats up and down that lineup. It's a good lineup. It's a solid lineup. The problem is their pitching, but especially their bullpen. Now, the Yankees are going to need a swing and miss guy to put in the back of that pen. They desperately need that. And they could use a corner infielder to give them some offense. They need that, especially a guy who has versatility. A guy who can play multiple positions, who could lead off. I mean, now you're asking for the world. They desperately need someone who could lead off. I don't know if they want to pay McMahon. McMahon could lead off. They need somebody to lead off. Desperately. I know Chisholm's, but Chisholm's he's not a great leadoff hitter. His on base position isn't very good. So there's going to be a lot of trades. We'll get into that as we get farther down. But this series, is going to be intense. Yankees have a little chip on their shoulder from the fact that they got smacked around at Citi Field. Severino made the comment, so they'll play into that. There's going to be a big buzz at the stadium. The Mets are going to come in thinking they can do damage. You got Cole, you got Heel on the mound. They'll go with Quintana and Minaya in the 2 games. You know the place will be full. That's not even an issue. And the Yankees have had quite a string of 40-plus. They even got 40-plus on a Monday afternoon against Tampa. Or at least they announced they had 40-plus. I didn't count them. But even if they didn't, they're drawing big crowds every game. And there'll be no seats available tonight or tomorrow night. The only thing is, it might rain a little bit these next 2 days. But, hey, you might have to live through that. Maybe a rain delay here or there. Who knows? But it's going to be fun. It's going to be intense. And these are now late July meaningful games. The Yankees are battling for a division title to prove they belong this year, to prove they can get good enough, and they're not good enough to win it all right now. They have to be better. But a lot of it is, not going to be done through the magic of new faces. They have got to get some of these guys going. Got to get Verdugo going. They have got to get Volpe going. Yesterday it's a home run for the first time since the middle of May. They asked him to hit a whole lot of home runs just to be better. Get on base. Walk a little bit. Steal a base. He hasn't done any of that. Hasn't hit home runs, hasn't stolen bases. He's had a miserable couple of months. Verdugo, since he ran into that wall in Fenway, has not been the same player. I don't know if that's a coincidence or not, but he has not been the same player. His numbers have been just dreadful. Now, yesterday, they piled it on. They got a whole bunch of hits. They had a day that was, one of those let's get everybody healthy days. One of those days where you just pound away. And they had 15 hits, so for them, that's a real day at the office because they have not had a lot of games. Other than Rice yesterday, I think everybody had a hit. And listen, Rice has had some big hits. I don't love him as a leadoff hitter at all. They don't have a leadoff hitter, and that kid's not a leadoff hitter. He's done a good job. All right, he's only batting 200, but that's fine. He's slugging, and he's gotten big hits. Wells has been hitting well lately. So you can leave him in that spot till Stanton comes because he can hit the ball out at Yankee Stadium. We know that. And he's been swinging the bat well. They need to get Verdugo going. They need to get Volpe going. They need to get Torres going. We know this is the end for Torres here. We know that. He hasn't been what everybody wanted him to be, but he's important. He's important to them the rest of the way. Verdugo's 2 for his last 27 with 1 RBI. He's 10 for his last 60 with 1 homer and 3 RBIs. He's 20 for his last 120 with 2 homers. 20 for his last 120 is 167 with a 200 on base percentage and a 200 slugging average. Those you can't play with those numbers. Those numbers are scary. And I know LeMahieu hit a homer, so we should have the balloons go up. But you know what? It looks awful. It looks awful. He looks worse than Donaldson did at the end. Because Donaldson could at least hit the ball out of the ballpark. He hit mistakes out of the ballpark. That's one thing he did to the bitter end. He hit mistakes out of the ballpark. LeMahieu, he looks like he's 100 years old. He really does. See, I think that Grisham is useful because look at him. Since he's had some regular play, let's take his last 50 at-bats. His last 50 at-bats, he's hitting 240. He's got a 330 on base percentage. Now, for the Yankees, that's rarefied air because he walks Grisham. And you know he slugs a little bit because he'll hit a home run. I mean, this year, he's only had a handful of at-bats, and he's been up 100 times for the season, 120 if you want to be exact, and he's got 6 home runs, 4 doubles and 6 homers. So, from a slugging standpoint, his numbers aren't terrible. And you know he plays a good center field, so when he's in the lineup, I don't mind it. I know some people have pushed for Cabrera. I don't like Cabrera myself. I don't. I'm not a big Cabrera guy. They need to go get a middle infielder. We'll get into that. There's 3 or 4 candidates that make sense. And for the Mets, it's pitching, relief pitching, relief pitching. All right. Hey, some of these guys they say are going to be available, I don't buy are going to be available. Because what are you in the business for if you're going to trade Mason Miller? I mean, really. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. But these 2 games should be fun. They should have a little intensity. Mets come in. Met fans can tweet the Yankee fans right now. They smacked them around Citi Field. Now the Yankees get the whole thing with Severino. They can try to build on that. They try to make a big deal about that. Hey, the Yankees take anything they can right now to get some motivation, to get something going. And let's be honest, they haven't gotten anything going. They won 2 games in Baltimore before the All-Star break and then lost a terrible game on Sunday with bad plays by Volpe and Verdugo. They come off that, all right? They win 2 out of 4 against Tampa. So what? Now you got your pitching set up. You got Healy and Cole. Go win 2 games against the Mets. Win both games. But more importantly, don't have this lineup be, hey, as soon as Judge bats, you're thinking about how long it's going to take you to get back to Soto and Judge again. And Soto and Judge. And listen, we see it every day. It's criminal. How can you walk anybody in front of Soto and Judge on the Yankees? How can you, and they put time, how can you not throw the ball right down the middle to any of these Yankee hitters rather than walk anybody in front of Soto and Judge? Bad enough you got to deal with Soto and then have Judge right behind them. I mean, and then these guys, they hang these breaking balls. Hey, go after Judge with your fastball. Don't go after him with these lousy breaking balls and hang these breaking balls in his eyes, which he hits out of the park repeatedly. Repeatedly. But how can you ever walk anybody in front of these 2 guys? And I'll tell you, I've said it since opening day. Soto never has a bad at-bat. I've never seen a player. There's no player, and I'm including the greatest players that I've ever watched. I cannot remember anybody who has the quality of at-bat time up after time up. Soto never gives up an at-bat. He's on every pitch. He gets great swings. They might get him out. They might even strike him out occasionally. But that guy, the quality of his at-bats are unbelievable. And it's funny. The great player, Pete Rose, had that. Paul O'Neill had a little of that. Pete Rose, the perfect example. He'd get that base hit in the 8th inning of a game that was out of touch, either losing big or winning big. Why? He wasn't giving up that at bat. How many players come up and just make a lazy out? And you know what? Over your career, that can be the difference between being a star and not being a star. Soto never, ever, ever gives up an at bat. He's on every pitch. He follows every pitch just to the catcher's glove. I mean, 80 walks. 80 walks. 71 strikeouts. When you have a player who has more walks than strikeouts, then you are in very, very special territory. Throughout his career, 145, 93, 135, 96, 132, 129, 80, 71. Career, 720 walks, 648 strikeouts. That is really rare. You walk more than you strike out. Now, you can go back to guys like in the old days that didn't strike out at all, like Joe D. I mean, he never struck out. I mean, those guys in those days. Now the strikeout is accepted. It wasn't in those days. You had to put the bat on the ball. And these days, even the top player strikes out 100 times. I mean, Soto strikes out 90s. Last year he struck out 129. This year he's going to strike out probably 110 times or so. But he will walk more than he strikes out. You know, that is special when you do that. See, Judge, as an example, has got 76 walks and 111 strikeouts, which is normal. I mean, if you went to the, all-time player, if you went to Ted Williams, I'm sure he's got, I never really looked, but I'm sure he's got 500 more walks than he does, strikeouts. Maybe more. When you get a guy who does a lot of both, and people didn't realize how, people never realized how big walks are. Walks are enormous as far as an offensive weapon. They're very, very important. Mantle for his career is 1733 walks, 1710 strikeouts. More walks than strikeouts, but he literally walks a lot. But Soto has incredible at-bats with 2 strikes. Hits loud foul after loud foul. I mean, his at-bats are just extraordinary. They really are. When you watch the game, just pay. I mean, I'm sure it's dawned on you, but just check it out. I mean, the quality of the at-bat is just unbelievable. And it never... It's rare. I mean, really rare that there's a give-up at bat. I mean, almost never. Guys look bad. He rarely looks bad. He really doesn't. So this should be a lot of fun next 2 days. Like I said, Yanks need to win 2. Mets, if they get a split, they can pound their chests. They won 3 out of 4 in the Subway Series this year, and that would be good for them. Because let's be honest, they're getting Heel, who's been good the last 2 starts, and they're getting Cole. If they get a split, I think they have to be very, very content with that. But right now, when you pitch to the Mets, you pitch to a very dangerous lineup. And the Met game yesterday, perfect example. They're up 5-1. They're coming back. They chip a run 5-2. Bell hits a home run, it's 5-3. I mean, the other kid hits a home run. Cruz hits a home run, it's 5-3. They get another run on the ground out. Now it's 6-4. They still got 2 guys on base. Diaz has got to go 30 pitches last night. I mean, it's never comfortable out of that Met pen. Never. And that's got to change for them. A couple other things. Football camp's opening. One of the things, and I really think timing of this is important. It's the only reason I bring it up. We all know that Love is going to get a new contract with the Packers. He's become a star overnight. I mean, a big star. And he's going to get an enormous contract. Packers need to do this now. He said he will not play. He will not step on a practice field until he gets his new contract. Packers know they have to give him a new contract. The fact that he's there means that they're probably talking in the right neighborhood. He's hearing that from his agent. They can't have this linger because I think it's a big negative for their team because they're building off that momentum of his play last year. That team was very good last year. That team was surprisingly good at the end of the season last year, and Love emerged as a bona fide superstar quarterback. Does he have to do more? Of course. He hasn't had a body of work yet, but what you've seen you have to like. If you don't like it, you don't know what you're looking at. So I'm sure we're talking about Lawrence just got $55 million a year. We're talking about more than that. Probably talking about $275 for 5 or somewhere in that neighborhood, which is why they are discussing whether the quarterback should be extracted from the salary cap, the quarterback salary, because the quarterback salary is becoming way, way too big a part of the salary cap as these numbers get enormous. The numbers for players now, you can look at the NBA, look at it, have just gotten so insane. I mean, they've gone to a place where they're even hard to even fathom. But so have the TV contracts. And that's what it's about. If you want to see where salaries are going, just look at the TV negotiations and realize that the players are taking 50% of the money in salaries. So you know where the salaries are going to go, and the stars are going to take the biggest bulk of that. So that's why you can see where it's going. Just look at that. And look how many billions the NBA got. And look at the NFL contracts. Although the NFL right now is running a little scared. They're talking brave about, flipping that DirecTV loss, which could be $14.1 billion in damages. Now, they think they're going to flip the whole thing. Let's see them do it. But Packers need to sign him and sign him quick so that they can get on with their business. You don't need that lingering. You really don't. And you got to give it. You have no choice. You got to give in to him. There's nothing you can do. He's become that kind of player. Sometimes it happens that quickly. Tomorrow we will have a live program for you. Tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we'll be up live, obviously, with everything that's going on with the Mets and Yanks and everything else. Let me close this one with a terribly sad, tragic note. Omar Minaya has been a good friend of mine for a very long time. I mean, everybody knows Omar. Everybody knows Omar's history. Everyone knows what he's done in baseball. Everyone knows his role with the Mets, his role with the Yankees, how long he's been here. We have been good friends for a long time. When somebody sent me this story, I was like, and I was writing him in, because he's someone I actually keep in touch with, he's someone that I text with. So we're close. You didn't even know how to start the text. I mean, I've been around Rachel. She is a wonderful woman. I'm not saying that I spent a lot of time with her, but I was in her company 5 or 6 or maybe more times in my life. It's just a heartbreaking story. I mean, they married 30 years. Omar obviously wasn't there, as you know. The details are unimportant. It's just a tragic loss. Just awful. And our, thoughts go out to Omar and his sons. Justin and Teddy. Just, really, sometimes there's no words, and there really aren't any words for this. I mean, she was in the middle of her life. She was 55 years old. It's just a heartbreaking situation. Just terrible. So our thoughts and prayers go obviously out to the Minaya family, to Omar and his sons, during this just heartbreaking time. I mean, it's sometimes you just stare at it. Like when I got this, somebody texted me this story, and I'm like, what? And you just sit there and you look at it and you're like, one of the things as we get older, I said this, I was at a funeral yesterday morning, and you live long enough, you wind up going to a lot of funerals. It's just part of our, our human condition. But sometimes you get news that just hits you on the head like a hammer, and you're just like, come on. And this is one of those where you're just stunned by the news. Heartbreaking. That's the only word I could think of that actually sums it up. I can't. He texted me yesterday. I haven't spoken to him yet. It's just awful, just terrible. So say a prayer because they need it. They lost a wonderful woman, and they're going to go through a very, very tough time here. So our thoughts and prayers to Omar and his sons during this ordeal, and that's what it is. Very sad. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Francesa Podcast on the Bet Rivers Network.